So in the first video that I posted, I did touch a little bit about contact information, but I really talked about, whether or not you want to use the words website or telephone. And again, that really is up to you. Personally, I wouldn't use them unless I wanted them for some kind of color contrast or some kind of design element. You can also use icons. Now, if you're going to use icons, you really are going to still need to have the URL, obviously, you can't just say, hey, I'm on LinkedIn. Obviously, you do need to still post the URL, but you can certainly use these icons. The free version of Canva does have some very basic social icons. There's also an icon finder that I have linked in week 3, and there's an article from Buffer Social, which is a very good resource for a lot of marketing information and social media, and they have icon sources. And then I also included a LinkedIn URL. This is so you can actually shorten and kind of come up with a more reasonable LinkedIn URL to put on a business card. So it's shorter. It's kind of like using a bit.ly or something that you might use on Twitter or Instagram. Okay, or not Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. So here, so you can use these, and you can certainly explore other options. Now let's look at using some icons actually on your business card design. So when it comes to actually, if you want to use a symbol or a logo or an icon to create visual interest on your card, it really should be something that's really pretty simple. I mean, obviously this is an actual logo. I don't even think it looks that great, and I don't really even love this, but it makes sense. Let me show you another one. Now here, again, I think these the icon-like little images do work. They don't come off as like clip art cheesy or anything like that, and a real bicycle would look cheesy, but these kinds of very, very subtle images can be effective. And there's another one underneath here where it's just a whisk. So something like that, I think, actually can work, but you want to definitely be careful. You don't want to get into full-blown photographs or images, again, because we haven't really discussed or worked with how to actually work with them effectively. But if you want to try some very, subtle, visual flourish like that, that's okay. I think that this camera actually works. It's a little big. I think I might have tried to do something a little different, but I like it. Again, I think if it was a real camera or a clip art camera, it would look cheesy, but because it's like an icon symbol, it actually looks pretty good. But again, I would be careful about doing something that big. But there's other ways to create visual interest on your business card, and let me just show you a few examples. Here's a design that I think is kind of fun, and I think it fits with the vibe of a photography business card. But let's look at the other side, because this is what I want to show you. So this is the outline of the card. When you use shapes, and they can be colored, they can be white background, they could be more transparent. When you use a shape to hold text, that's called typographic furniture. Typographic furniture is a great technique in design, and it's something that we're going to be looking at more as we go along, and you're going to have projects where you really are going to need to have typographic furniture. So that's really a fun way to add some visual pop to your to what you're doing. And let me show you another example. Okay, I don't love the light bulb here, although again, I think because it's kind of like more of that sort of fun icon look, it kind of works. But the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to show you this typographic furniture and how this design is using it. And you can do, this is kind of like a label look. You can do these, you can align them, you can put space between them, you don't have to tilt it, but it really can be a fun way to add visual interest. Here's an example of typographic furniture that's transparent, because you can see through the back, but still it is the shape containing the text. But notice the background. It's kind of fun. I like how the little zigzag bleeds out to the edge, and then how this is used here in the design, but in reverse in color scheme. So this, employing a fun kind of background can be another technique. This is the one. Now, this is the one I showed in the first video. There's not very many places that can hold a flamingo, but this one does it. But I'm just saying, I don't recommend flamingos. But look at the back, and I think it's really fun. And again, here's a way to play with color and repetition, but also, using it to do something different. I think it's really fun. The polka dots. You can also use little images in the actual background of the design. I'll show you one of those. I actually found this other example of typographic furniture that I was looking for that I really like. Again, like this technique, it's really simple, but it really does add a lot of personality, and it does give you a good opportunity to play with color. Speaking of which, I don't recommend using these kind of colors unless you have an extremely good reason to do so. Just my opinion, but there it is. And now here is the background that has all the little icons that were put in and just arranged. And I think that this is fun. I don't think it interferes with, trying to read it. I think the color is nice. I think if these were maybe not white, that might be a little overwhelming to the design, but I think it actually is pretty effective. And here's one more. Now this has the zigzag background. And you know what? It's not overwhelming. It might be overwhelming if the colors were different and if it was if it took up the whole entire card. But just that it's in here and then here, I think is really clever. And I think it really works. It has like movement. It's active. It's fun. Sunny is in black, but the card is in yellow. And so I think it really works to convey a fun message, but also it keeps it, still reasonably serious. Like this is really a person with a business. So I hope that you have found some inspiration. Don't be afraid to keep it super simple, okay? Whatever you're doing visually, don't go overboard. And you know what? Some students find that they'd like to come back to black and white, and because that's really what they like the most. And so I think the most important thing is just to try and to experiment. So I do expect to see you moving from version to version, trying different things, taking some risks. Even if you find a design that you really like right now, still try some different things. You want to always be evolving and challenging yourself. Okay, looking forward to seeing your work on the discussion board this week.